Well, hi guys, welcome back to Linda's Pantry. And today I am doing my post canning chat. Yesterday, if you guys watched, it was the day before yesterday for you because I needed to do freeze dried Friday. But day before yesterday, we'll say, for video's sake, but it was actually yesterday, I jarred up 19 pints of ham and bean soup. This is one of our very favorites to eat, period, but to have on the shelf because it's a pint jar is a big serving. I'll only eat half of a jar at a time, but my husband will eat a whole jar. We don't have any leftovers, nothing to deal with afterwards. So if you're in the mood for ham and bean soup, you don't have to make a big pot of it. And my thought process on doing a full canner load, double stacked, was because we do eat this and it is one of our go-tos. I don't have to do it over and over and over again and use that same amount of power because a canning session can take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours depending on the project. Now, I had done all the prep work the day before, so I didn't have to do all that chopping or it would have definitely been a 3-hour project. As it was still about 3 hours from start to finish to get everything in the pot, bring it to a boil, do all the things, get the jars and lids ready and hot and the canner heated up, you know what I'm saying, and then let the canner cool down. So it takes a big bite out of your day. And yes, I can do it in small batch canning sessions because I do enjoy canning so very much, but I'd rather in this case do it in one and I'm done for the year. There are certain canning projects that I like to do that way. So this is one of them, but I wanted to bring you back because first off, I want to show you the interior of the canner. I have not touched it. It's been sitting on the stove. I wanted to let you know it doesn't stop at the canning session. Ladies, gentlemen, it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop at washing the jars, which is about what I'm about to do. Now, I don't put vinegar in the water, but I don't have hard water. I do not believe I have hard water. Look how pretty and shiny those jars are. Otherwise, they would have a real white film on them. It comes off with no problem because you're going to wash your jars anyway. The vinegar in the water can degrade your rings and your lids for that matter. So I'm happy to not have to do that anymore. I kept adding just a tablespoon and I thought, I'm going to do a session without it and see what happens. Perfect. I do use 4 jars lids. So I use 4 jars lids and 4 jars, as much as I can, 4 jars rings. I'm going to order some more rings only because they have more of the metal plating on them. They last longer. I don't ever put my rings in the dishwasher because dishwashing tabs tend to have bleach and that will degrade the metal. And so I just do them by hand, the old-fashioned way. And probably the rings washing is my least favorite thing to do after a canning session. I'm just gonna say, what's your least favorite thing to do after a canning session? Is it washing the jars? Is it putting the canner away, getting that cleaned up? Is it rings? Is it labeling? Some people don't like to label. Labeling's a chore. It really is. So what I'm doing is I'm taking all the rings off. They're going in my big sink here. All 19 of them. Sealed beautifully. They'd pretty much sealed by the time I took them out of the canner, even though they were still boiling in the jar. And look at my headspace. We needed 1 inch of headspace. Yes, we did. Everything is in plenty of liquid. The beans do continue, because this was half full of solids, they continue to take up space. Not all soups are going to do that, but keep in mind, beans and we'll say split peas will do the same thing. So any of your legumes, you want to make sure you take note, follow the directions out by the National Center for Home Food Safety. And now this one, I felt like it must have had a few more beans in it, but I still didn't have, nobody's low. You know what I'm saying? They've all got good headspace. I'm very, very pleased with this. This one, I feel like this one had more beans. It's still, I might add a little bit of chicken broth. It's got a good headspace, but you can see it is full of beans. We'll see when we open the jar whether I feel like I need it or not. So, all in all, these jars feel very clean. They're going to be easy to wash. And I'm going to bring you along for most of it, and I'll show you the canner. Let's go see the canner right now, and then that way, here, and I'll just take you over in real time so you know what happened. Okay. Okay. This is the canner, and it smells like ham and bean soup, and there's the water. I don't know if it shows up on camera real clear, but it is a little cloudy, so that meant a little bit of siphoning happened. Not much, but a little bit. So, that being said, let's come on down and I'll show you what washing jars looks like for a hot minute. And yes, look at that sink full. Okay, so this is what I typically do. And I'm using a sponge. Now, I put my sponge in the dishwasher every day when I wash dishes. It keeps the bacteria down. It makes sure it's clean. I need as hot of water as I can stand. And I use the scrubby side. Get your dish soap and grab a jar. And we're going to scrub around the rim really good. And the top of that jar, because we got to write on it. And then we're going to rinse it off. And I need hot, but not so hot I can't. And I like to shake everything loose in there, especially when it's soup, so it doesn't end up in a big molded thing at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to put that one back down for a second. Let me grab a drying mat, and we'll get these on a drying mat. And this little guy can go back in. And before I started, I scoured my sink out and made sure it was sanitized. I'm not adding food to the sink, but I want everything clean. It's good practices to have. And by the time you get done washing, you'll know whether you have a good seal or not. If anything comes unsealed, like I check all the seals as I'm working with them because I don't want a big mess. But anything that comes unsealed, you would refrigerate and use right away. Or, yeah. Anyway, that's how I do my jars. Look at that beautiful soup. Isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely. Rings. Whoops. My least favorite. But I can get in there. Right? And I dry them all upside down. I make sure they get good and dry before I put them on my storage rack, because that's when you have rust and other ickies that shows up. So we're just going to continue. We're going to continue. And I'll wash a few rings and then I'll go back to jars because that's more fun. Okay. Anyways, okay, so like I said, what's your least favorite? And what is your favorite part of the canning? Most people will say when I get to bring the jars out of the canner and see my success. I mean, I feel like that's the reward. Now, remember I put a bay leaf in all the jars. It's down at the bottom. You just take it out. It's just like because you really did, you cooked that soup right in the jar. You now have this highly seasoned, all the flavors have melded. I mean, it's a good pot of soup right in here that you don't have to eat the whole thing for a week. You know what I'm saying? Because if you make a pot of beans, like there you can see the bay leaf, if you make a pot of beans, it's usually, you've got soup for a week. I don't know about you, but I'm good. Okay. I'm going to continue this project. When I get all done, I'll come back with some final thoughts and give you some other things I might think doing, so 4 jars. They are wonderful. I've got a discount code, Linda's Pantry, all one word, no apostrophe, in my description box where you can get really good rings that don't degrade near as fast. You'll get, 2 to 3 times the life out of them. And your lids, you can buy lids and rings. You can, and they're the most competitive. And you can get free shipping. It's a great company. It really, really is. So let's get some of these scrubbed up, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've done a little bit of maintenance on my canner as well. I got it clean. Whoa, got it clean, and I'm trying to turn the water back on. It's big, so unless you have a big double sink, it's hard to get in here and get it done and get it clean, and you want to put it away nice and dry. So I'm going to let it dry by itself. And I'll put it back here on the stove, maybe even turn the burner on for a few minutes to let that dry, just like you do when you're working with cast iron. So my jars, they're all rinsed, everybody's sealed. Okay, so I had already checked my seals, taken off the rings, but go ahead and before you start scrubbing, because the last thing you want is you turn a jar upside down and start shaking it, everything comes out. I mean, obviously it's better now than later, but yeah, you want to, I like to go through and dry all the jars as well. One for one, it also, I live in a humid climate, so it also keeps the possibility of this starting to rust. I haven't had it happen, but I do know when we moved here, and this was my husband's house, there were jars in the basement that, had rings rusted on. We had to toss them. And it broke my heart to throw away dozens of jars because the rings were left on. These rings aren't meant to stay on. They're strictly a tool for while the canner is going to keep that lid in place. It still needs to be able to vent air in and out because that food expands and pushes the air out. And then when it starts to cool, it creates a vacuum. Oh, there's my husband. And so literally it is just a tool to keep that in place. So, okay, I don't know what he's doing. He's got a big trailer. But I wanted to come back and let you know it's not just a canning session. You've got a cleanup session. I've been at this for over a half hour cleaning this up, and now I'll get all these dried. I'll label them with a marker, the date and month, or the month, so the month and year that I canned it. I don't put the exact date. That doesn't matter in the scheme of things. And that way I know, and what it is, because what if I said this was some other thing, not just ham and bean soup? What if I said it was something else? Maybe it was a pot pie mix or something like that, and you can't, in the jar, you don't quite know. What is that? Okay, so that being said, I feel like I finally have success, and now I can label these, get them down on the pantry shelf, and I'll take you down there and show you. I had to make sure I had space for these. You've got to create a safe spot for them where they can stay until you're ready to use them. All right, guys, I can't wait to see you next time for another delicious recipe. Quite possibly opening a jar of this. You never know. All right, bye. So now it's time to put the ham and bean soup on the shelf. So after you've got your jars all washed and ready to go, hopefully you've picked out a spot. I knew that I had enough room to do that. And I carry them down in these little totes. These are wonderful to go down the stairs, and then I still have one hand free to do the stair, hold on to the railing. So this is the day after is a little bit of work. There's some work involved to stocking our pantries. These are nifty. They fold right up, and out of the way, I can store them right there for when I need to go upstairs with jars or come downstairs. I'll leave you a link down below so you can see that, because I've got a bigger one here that it'll hold, I can put 6 quarts in here, or right now there's 6, 9, 10, 11 jars in here. So I'm gonna set this in a safe spot to get them out. And we'll get these on the shelf. And that's what it takes to get a product from that canning session that's so exciting to now we have food on the shelf that is also very exciting. So when your shelves are stocked, you have peace of mind. No matter what happens, you have food to eat, and you don't have to worry about if there's a storm. Where I live, we can have a landslide and be shut down, and our little store would go clear out. Everything would be cleared out in a matter of 1 or 2 days, if that, just depending on how well stocked people are. But because of where I live, most everybody has their freezers full, and they are fully aware that they need to have their stuff on hand. This is also why it's super important to have your jars labeled. I know this is applesauce. Looking at that, I could say, ooh, what is that? A year from now, you know what I'm saying? If you don't have your jars clearly marked, and the other fact is, maybe you're not the only one shopping in your pantry, or if I send somebody down here to get something, they need to know what it is. Because sometimes some of this stuff, like this, if I didn't have this labeled, what is that? Well, I would know that it's chicken, but somebody else may not. They'd be going, I have no idea what that is. So, and this is, and these labels, this is spicy pork. So, but I could say, well, that looks like beef, or yeah, I see that's pork. Maybe I can figure that out. You just don't want a guessing game going on. So, anyways, that's my take on this, and I hope that it helped give you a better idea of what it really takes to put 19 pints of delicious homemade, your recipe soup, as long as everything in the jar can be canned. And that National Center for Home Food Preservation, that is that is at your disposal to that is at your disposal to print that out for free. Look at it online. I think you can actually get the whole canning book online for free. You just have to print it out or do a PDF, and then you have it. Or you can just look it up, and it's easy to look up. So it's the National Center for Home Food Preservation, and those are the guidelines for doing your own soup. Half liquids, half solid, and with beans, know that they are going to expand and continue to soak up some more of that broth, but it came out perfect. So if you want, when I do a taste test of the canned product, I can bring you along and we'll give it a taste and show and tell you exactly what I think about it. But it's going to be a day or two from now. Okay, guys, I can't wait to see you next time. I hope this was helpful. If it was, I sure hope I get a thumbs up, and I see you next time. And if you're not a subscriber, I would love for you to join my family over here on YouTube and become a Pantry peep. And yeah, all right, bye. So if you've made it this far, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel and let me know what you'd like to see next.